Welcome. In this edition of Kurukshetra August session, we would be discussing about rural development. However, this edition specifically focuses on education and educational technologies in rural areas. So there are three important aspects that have been covered: artificial intelligence, virtual reality and augmented reality. And then we say that with growing educational systems and introduction, how the components of audio and visual integration became important. So beginning from 1950s to 60s was an era where televisions were required, or the use of television for educational purpose really increased. Later on, there were computer assisted instructions which were brought, and programs like Plato, which is programmed logic for teaching operations, was provided for personalized education and interactive learning. Later on, we believe that there are numerous distance education programs that have been released, and ed technology, which is educational technology, brought in drastic changes from hardware, software, digital resources, enhancing teaching and enhancing learning, to bringing in visual and audio aids. So in early 20th century, Thomas Edison actually talked about bringing in mechanical instructions in motion pictures, and that was a patent where he said education of the future. So textbooks is what he believed, that only 2% efficiency is what can be achieved through textbooks, but if we bring in this audio visual or motion trail, that can with visualization of education, that can bring in 100% efficiency. With this idea, Edison wanted to reshape the idea of education, and there was a significant rise in digital education. Now what are the benefits? It improves accessibility, inclusivity, because students from remote areas can approach education through the televisions at the panchayats. Personalized learning experiences can be brought. Educators can customize the lessons which are required to be brought in, and it is highly interactive and engaging skill. So this experience itself transforms a lot of things within the educational system, but there are some of the standards which have been brought. For example, the National Repository for Open Educational Resources, National Digital Library, Swayam Diksha, NIDR. Now NIDR is the digital education architecture which functions like UPI. So this has a uniform interface for digital infrastructure, operations, data driven decisions and personalized learning. It provides five key persons: student, parent, teacher, administrator and community members; three ecosystems: program, asset and solution, with two cores: learning and administration. Similarly, classrooms to screens, from offline education to blended learning, collaborations and global connections can be brought in, and lifelong learning, which was the Praud Shiksha Abhiyan, the adult education in the previous days, could be enhanced to lifelong learning modules as of now, and even micro learning, where specific skill set can be learned by people. Now, e-learning has certain barriers. Definitely, e-learning closes the gap of educational learning, promotes rural development and transformative approach, but at the same time, there are challenges with digital infrastructure that is not reaching every nook and corner. So, assessing the proper expansion through the BharatNet network, which talks about internet connectivity in the rural areas, and rural houses account for 65% of the population which have obstacles with quality education. So this could be in the form of lack of teaching resources, lack of good teachers, socio-economic factors, infrastructural issues. But definitely with online learning and digital learning, this would become better. So there are various challenges that have to be brought, that have to be taken into account, which is empower students, help personalized learning, community learning centers to be established, using data to get better. Now, e-learning projects come in various forms: Saransh, Swayam Prabha, then e-Pathshala, Shagun portal are some examples. And then we have this cyber awareness, which is Digital Nagrik. Now, Digital Nagrik includes various aspects: children, youth, teacher, women, parents, and focuses on bringing an awareness drive, role for awareness and engagement programs. Now, another important aspect is use of artificial intelligence in e-learning. Now, various institutions have talked about using artificial intelligence for learning. One of the conference, Sam Altman, the co-founder of ChatGPT, actually said that AI has a capability to transform over time and bring in unique learning experience with integrated technology. So there are various students enrolled in different learning platforms. Miko is an AI-powered company which it's a kind of companion robot which is made for students to converse, educate and talk with them. Similarly, Quest is a platform where planning tools can be provided, and similarly we have seen other institutions being using artificial intelligence for various aspects. But there was a 2 Sigma problem which was published in 1984 that examined classroom teaching across 3 settings: conventional, mastery and tutoring, and found that mastery and tutoring have enhanced understanding as compared to conventional. Now, as a result, use of AI in edtech has been because of large language models. So even on Google, if you search nowadays, you would have an AI overview which could be generated from top 4 or 5 web searches which are there. But again, important to note, these are only from the web searches. They are not from the research papers. They are not from standardized books and references. So again, if you have to dive into deeper, you have to understand that these language models are based only on the available information on the internet. If that is incorrect, the AI results would also be generated would also be incorrect, right? So customization and generative AI, where AI can actually bring the content in your own native language and ensure that educational resources are available for all. The next is equality and educational quality. So India aims to become a 5 trillion economy, and for that, inequities in education must be removed. Kendriya Vidyalaya and Navodaya Vidyalaya are exceptionals which have very good standards of learning, but what about other public schools? So that gap has to be fulfilled, specifically for the students coming from marginalized background. And then we talk about it's not just AI but responsible AI, as we said, because the content that has to be brought in should be authentic. Similarly, 2020, our national artificial intelligence portal known as India AI was launched, which has a comprehensive digital platform for AI advancements in India. And Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology released the first edition in 2023 publicly. So these are some of the important aspects. Now, talking about the expansion, first of all, with the modern edtech system, we are now a digitally empowered society and a knowledge-driven economy. So digital public infrastructure needs to be developed, and with that, digital content has also to be brought in. So through the Rashtriya E-Pustakalay, or the National Digital Library that has come into action, E-Jadui Pitara and PM E-Vidya Diksha are some of the important aspects of it. Then national education policy, we target to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education to 50% by 2035 and allow multiple entry and exit options with two-way audio-video communication. UNESCO State of Education report says 10 specific recommendations for India's transformative efforts for educational technology. The list of those suggestions are given here, so you would have those in the handouts. You can just check those. The idea is, again, under India's G20 presidency, we have seen hybrid learning models, which focuses on coordination, content, connectivity, capture, capacity, culture and cost. And based on this, we focus on bringing in technological infrastructure which is more inclusive, equitable and secure. So digital infrastructure through smartphones, through computers, which is affordable learning platform using interactive sessions is one such idea. Now we have the data for internet and computer access in smart classrooms. Then this is the data for government versus the private. So you can see the gap between the government and the private for the use of smart classrooms as well as internet facilities. Now with this, we also talk about the rural areas development in the terms of governance. So eGram Swaraj, it is a technology driven application for the grassroots level governance. focusing on finance, geotagging, progress reports, activity output, plan creation and panchayat profiling. There are various aspects which are covered under e-Gram Swaraj, and the aim is to have better e-governance through the Panchayati Raj institutions and boost the credibility of panchayats in the region. So this is the architecture where you have a basic profile of panchayat, the planning, the progress, the financial aspects coming in, which is monitored through REIT module, and finally there are asset details. Now there are various line departments working under this project with various subjects and ministries, citizens being part of it, and 6 modules which form the backbone of it are part of it. So the another important aspect is Gram Manchitra. Now this is a spatial planning application. That means the region is being geotagged and the facilities and capabilities in the region are being highlighted. So a base map is prepared through drone images where buildings, land parcels, water facilities, garden facilities, educational, health facilities are being recorded, and through this action plans are given for which financial and physical progress can be made easier. So there is an asset directory, user management, and finally based on that there is the development of the region that can be brought in. The next is SIDH, which is Skill India Digital Hub, that talks about sustainable skill development for inclusive growth and lifelong learning. We are finding various skill centers and opportunities for the region, and this program offers comprehensive training for the same. Now another important idea is LMS system, learning management system, which features content management, learner registration, delivery of the content, assessment and feedback and certification for the various activities. Then some of the important schemes, we have already covered those schemes before, so I won't be repeating in detail, but let's have an overview. So it's the Kaushal Vikas for skill development, Gramin Digital Saksharta for digital literacy in the region, then skill development and digital learning, Swayam Plus, which is a MOOC platform, massive online open courses which are provided through this platform. Then Swayam Neptel, which is specifically for sciences and technical courses. Then we also have empowering the SIDS for business and societies, and this has been brought through skilling the youth in non-IT sector, and nearly 1 lakh individuals in the next 2 years will be upskilled for the same. Reducing the gender gap. So e-learning reforms actually brings in equipped women for high demand jobs, and therefore various edtech platforms can work better, and there is a current women to men ratio in STEM programs which is 45:55, which increases the participation by nearly 12%, which is significant. So upskilling and reskilling is the basic idea. Then there is quality content creation. So UGC now permits 40% of the credit through online courses, which allows flexible updated curriculum for getting the credit through online content, and this has been made possible through Swayam and Coursera courses which universities allow, and as a result, based on the score that you are getting there, those scores would be added into your university grade sheet. So 40% of the courses can be taken outside the universities. Now UNICEF has brought in remarkable achievements where we have brought in Passports to Earnings, which is a platform where financial literacy and digital productivity can be taken into account. E-learning has become one of the bases for improving the health awareness and nutritional awareness among people. So some of the initiatives under digital initiatives are eSanjeevani, DigiLocker, Digital Saksharta, Digital Literacy Mission. Under digital health is Ayushman Bharat, Abha, Unified Healthcare, then Arogya Setu and e-hospital. Then we have schemes like Bharat Prerak, Bharat Yatra, e-school for farmers, Asha training modules, Janni Shishu Yojana. Then mobile health. Now here we have real-time information, mobile Kunji, Kilkari for community health workers, M-Sakshi for remote consultations, and eSanjeevani. Similarly, Poshan Atlas talks about the nutrition, and Poshan Abhiyan is an action plan for that. M-Health for TB talks about mobile drones for tracking TB patients and their treatment adherence. The next is Anmol A&M Online, which is your auxiliary nurse midwife for tracking the maternal and child care data. Similarly, there are various proposed strategies to overcome challenges, which focuses on improving infrastructure, training programs, user-friendly aspects, bringing in community involvement, developing community centers, and so on. So those are some of the important aspects that have been covered in this section of Kurukshetra. Stay tuned for more updates. Thanks for joining in. Have a wonderful day.